Hey rollers, if you haven't already subscribed, please take a second to hit that button below. Have you ever been in an absolute division? In large tournaments, it's basically an open weight where an itty-bitty guy can take on a giant. In small tournaments, like the one I'll show you today, the absolute division may also include different genders, ages, and belt levels. I was excited about it because I didn't know the size or skill set of my opponent until I hit the mat.
You never know what you're going to get.
In my first match, I faced this strong, energetic guy with an unconventional style. He faked a leg attack and then tried to drag me into his guard. He used a De La Riva hook to work towards my back, but I stepped to the left and worked past his guard. When he sat up, I grabbed a front headlock and moved my grip across to the right. When he extended his left arm, I was able to force it across and dip under for an anaconda choke. It was deep under his chin, so I was able to finish with a simple gable grip. In my second match, my opponent had a few skillful movements that surprised me. I had a beautiful arm drag going on, but then he rolled forward, catching my leg. He tried to extend me and launch an attack, but I used my size advantage to sit heavy and keep him away from my precious ankles. I definitely didn't want to let him invert and give him access to my base. When I went for a standing pass, he established a De La Riva, so I pushed his ankle down and stepped to the left. I stood up again and tried to control his legs without being cheap by taking a grip on his gi pants. He was quick to invert when I tried to push his legs to the side. I had to kick my right leg out of his grip to avoid a sweep, but then when I tried to slice a knee through, he did a nice straight arm and pushed me over. Score is 2-0 for him right now. So he was trying to slice through a pass, and I was trying to stop him. I closed my guard immediately and clamped down on a head and arm choke. I didn't realize at this time that it's difficult to finish without establishing an angle. I needed to shift my hips over to the right so I could tighten it up and get the finish.
You can do it!
So despite my buddy's encouragement, the choke was useless. I decided to go for something that I did know about, and that was cutting angles and finding arm bars and triangles. This made for a quick finish, and I was off to the final.
I won!
It was time to go for all the glory. Here's where I faced a neck-wrapping skill set I had never faced before. My opponent waited for me to do a terrible shot for a single leg, wrapped up my head, and then stopped me from getting across his body. I went on full alert on the guillotine defense, getting my hips high and throwing my right arm over his shoulder. He switched to half guard, but he maintained his vice grip on my neck. He even baited me into mounting, where he forced me over and cranked my head down from inside my guard. You can probably imagine that this sequence doesn't feel good. If you find me annoying, you'll enjoy this section. In total, my head was in that noose for 2 minutes and 26 seconds. If you've never been, that's a long time. We got reset to the middle, and for some reason, I didn't see this coming. His arm must have been worn out from squeezing the life out of me, so he didn't work this for long, switching instead to standard head control. He kept his pressure forward, compressing me until I finally framed, cut an angle, and looked for an armbar. He rolled forward, shucking my leg off and swarming me again. Just before I started digging for a heel hook, I remembered that we had an anti-reaping rule for this division, so I stopped and we began again with my opponent in my guard. He must have sensed that my guard was open, so he jammed my leg down and stepped into my half guard. I tried to get a Kimura going, but he buried his left arm. I didn't give up on this, even after I really should have.
You can do it!
I ended up giving up my back, but I managed to squirm my shoulders to the mat, and then I stuffed his left leg into my half guard. He climbed on top and gave me a little knee on ear treatment while I tried to frame and create space. He thought about going for an armbar of his own, but his leg was still trapped, so he opted to grab my head and transition to more of that guillotine action. I find it fascinating to see the different styles and skills of competitors outside my normal divisions. It helps me get a better picture of what works and what doesn't work. I lost this match by points and basically felt exhausted and beat up, but it was still a great experience.
I almost died!
Thanks for watching. Please comment, like, and subscribe.